Hey there, it's Johanna, and before we get into today's episode, I wanted to drop in with a quick note from right now for a little context from this version of me as I'm heading into, my 5th month of podcasting and still walking beside you on this wild, transformative ride. What you're about to hear is one of the earliest episodes I recorded when I started Transformative Journeys, and it's also one of the most personal. In it, I talk about the loss of my son Michael and how an experience that shattered me became the beginning of a very different kind of growth, shaping not just my healing journey, but eventually my purpose. I'm resharing this now because autumn always seems like a time of shifting for me. New routines, sometimes life changes, like seeing our kids spread their wings and leave the nest to start post-secondary education, and in my case, a few grief anniversaries too. For many of us, this time of year can feel like a time of transition, both outside and in. For me, when the days start to get shorter, I find myself spending more time inside my head, remembering, reflecting, and revisiting what I call my past lives. Not in the metaphysical sense, more like memories of my kids' first day of school. Funny or not so funny parent-teacher interviews. Sending my youngest daughter off to university and actually living blissfully alone for the first time in my life. And of course, my life before my son died. And so this felt like the right time to come back to this story, not just about loss, but about what it means to begin again when everything inside you feels broken. To revisit a conversation about rebuilding after everything changes. If you've experienced deep grief or really significant loss of any kind, or if you're just walking through a chapter that wasn't of your choosing right now, or you're in the thick of a transformation you didn't ask for, I hope this episode reminds you that even in the wreckage after what was, healing is possible, and that you're not alone in this mess. So let's go back to building from the ashes. Painful and or traumatic experiences, while incredibly challenging, can actually hold the seeds to our deepest growth. They can shape us in ways that we never could have imagined, and if we allow them to, they can lead to incredible self-discovery. You know how life throws us curveballs? Nobody gets through this journey of life without a few storms. Welcome to Transformative Journeys. I'm your host, Johanna LaRue. Each week, I'll share my thoughts and insights and dig into strategies that can empower you to rediscover yourself, learn about transforming pain into power, building confidence to navigate life's challenges, and cultivating a life of meaning and joy. Join me on this journey of exploration and transformation. Have you ever wondered how some people seem to be able to rebound from life's challenges and tragedies, and others seem stuck, deeply unhappy, but not able to move forward? This week, I want to delve into what I call rising from our darkest moments to find purpose and strength, using the lessons we've learned when bad things happen in life to move forward with intention and to find purpose again. So let's dig into that. Welcome back to Transformative Journeys with Johanna, and guess what? I'm Johanna. This week, we're going to be talking about what it actually means to build from the ashes, moving forward with purpose. And when I talk about building from the ashes, I'm referring to learning from our most challenging or painful experiences and taking those first steps to transform our life into its version 2.0. Using the wisdom and insight we gain from those challenges to transform us into stronger, more resilient, and ultimately more compassionate versions of ourselves. Today, I'm going to start by sharing a deeply personal story, one that forced me to reinvent part of myself and which has profoundly changed who I am now. 19 years ago, I lost my 22-year-old son to a workplace fatality. And that first year was spent in a deep, ugly, dark pit of grief, where I felt, if you could call the utter numbness at the time, feeling like I was watching the world happen around me from underwater or maybe from inside a bubble. Nothing felt real except the pain I was feeling from losing my son. It was and is almost indescribable. And sometime during that first year, I learned to wear what's sometimes called the mask of grief. I went back to work. I shopped for groceries, paid the bills, attended family events and neighborhood get-togethers. I got my daughter ready for her graduation. I basically walked, talked, and functioned on the outside in all the socially appropriate ways. I smiled and said thank you when people told me how strong I was, how well I was doing, all while in truth moving back and forth between excruciating pain and just feeling empty. Empty, empty, empty. This deeply affected my parenting. A huge dose of mom shame. It affected my marriage, and it affected most of my friendships. Not only did I no longer feel like me, but I hardly felt at all, except for the pain of losing my son. And please don't think that I didn't love my daughters through this. Here's another, heaping helping of mom shame. I did love them, of course. I loved them so much that alongside my pain, the one feeling I did have was an absolute terror of something happening to one of them too. But, and this is a big painful but, I was inside that bubble. They were on the outside of that bubble, which, as my younger daughter put it years later, meant that to them, I was almost as far away as their brother was. The journey from there to here has not been an easy one. Slowly at first, and in the early years, still very, very conscious of my broken heart. I found ways to navigate through the pain. I found support systems that worked for me. I discovered coping strategies, and I learned how to grieve in a healthy and, dare I say it, even productive way. And I'll be getting into some of those actual strategies that helped me as well as others in future episodes. But 19 years later, I'm not only happy and able to feel peace and hope and joy, I have found a sense of purpose. That mask, it's tucked safely in a box in the back of my heart, and every now and then I open the lid a little and peek inside, just as a reminder of how far I've come. Because I am a stronger person now. Grief or internal pain of any kind not only looks different on the outside for everyone, but the experience itself is also vastly different for everyone. But to pack your feelings into a box, shut the lid, and pretend to be getting on with life is neither healthy nor is it productive. You have to allow yourself to feel all the feels. You have to let yourself feel all of the emotions that you might be going through while learning healthy coping strategies to help you move forward, because that's a crucial first step in any healing process. Painful and or traumatic experiences, while incredibly challenging, can actually hold the seeds to our deepest growth. They can shape us in ways that we never could have imagined, and if we allow them to, they can lead to incredible self-discovery. And I believe that you really can't move forward until you acknowledge your grief or your pain and you actually allow yourself to do the hard and shitty work of feeling it. Over the past 19 years, I have met lots of people who have turned their tragedy into purpose. Each of them have unique stories founded in pain that they chose to use to make a positive impact and to inspire change. People who have lost the life that they knew as a result of a life-altering injury, people and their families who are living with the outcomes of an illness that have changed their life and will ultimately shorten it, people who are grieving family members who have died, and many of these people are now using their voices to try and prevent what happened to them or their family from happening to other people. Their lives are examples of what resilience and transformation looks like. But to get there, they all had to take that first step. And each of us, no matter what the source of our pain is, we have a choice. We can let our experience, our tragedy, our pain, we can let it defeat us. We can let it destroy us. We can let it define us. Or we can let it refine us. And make no mistake, it is often not the easy choice to make, but choosing to learn and grow from our experiences can lead us to discovering strengths we had no idea we had and take us down paths that we never could have imagined ourselves on. But there comes a point where you have to make a conscious decision about where you want to go from here. Are you going to let your loss or your trauma define you or defeat you for the rest of your life? Have you decided that this, whatever this is now part of your identity? Or are you going to enable it to shape you and who you are moving forward, but in a meaningful and positive ways that, can maybe help you make a difference in the world? Sometimes that decision might be instinctual for some people. Other times you'll need to maybe spend some time, going inside yourself and deciding how it's changed the way you view the world and how you could see yourself using it to help others. And that decision, making that choice, is the foundation on which we start to build from the ashes. And although it's the first step, it can be a big one. I always talk about baby steps and how I'm a firm believer that as long as you're trying to step forward, baby steps are just fine. And after making that decision that I was not going to let my loss and my grief define me, many of my steps forward were baby steps. But I will admit to you that making that choice to take my deep grief and pain and direct it into something positive, that was a big step. And I didn't do it alone. One of the best steps I took was to become involved with an organization that not only supported my grief, but shared tools for healthy grieving and strategies for helping me cope, and provided me with an opportunity to become an advocate for change. It's really difficult to build a house on the foundation all by yourself. I'm sure there are people who do it, and kudos to them, but I'm pretty certain it would take a lot longer to build it alone. So through the worst experience of my life, I started to see myself in a different way. I began to ask myself how I could use my experience to serve and to help others. It was the journey from the ashes of my former life to a place of resilience, strength, and purpose. The place where I feel like I am now. And out of my journey, among, many other things, Transformative Journeys was born. And I hope it will be a way I can help others navigate their own path to healing and purpose. And although it's just in its infancy, my hope is that some of the insights and strategies that I share can help other people navigate life's challenges, develop better mental wellness, and cultivate resiliency for themselves, helping them move forward towards healing. Today, we explored the concept of transforming pain into purpose, rethinking letting our experiences shape us versus using our experiences to shape our future, and taking this sometimes difficult first step, making that decision to begin to heal and grow, and channeling our pain into something greater than ourselves. Thank you for joining me for this flashback episode of Transformative Journeys. If it resonated with you, or if you think it might speak to someone else in your life, I'd be really grateful if you shared it or left a quick review on your favorite podcast platform. It really does help other people find my show. And if you've been through your own experience of building from the ashes, I'd love to hear your story. Come find me at Instagram at transformativejourneys.johanna, or come visit my website at transformativejourneys.ca and leave me a message there. Wherever you are in your healing journey, I hope this conversation reminded you that building from the ashes isn't just possible, it can be transformational, even when it doesn't feel like it yet. Until next time, this is Johanna reminding you, it doesn't matter if you fall. What matters is how well you bounce. This is Transformative Journeys. See you next time. Just wanted to throw in a disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not replace the advice of a medical or mental health expert. I'm not a licensed counselor or a therapist, just a human with a mic and a story of growth and resilience. No degree, no fancy letters after my name. I'm a full-time student at the School of Hard Knocks, University of Life, where I figure I'll graduate when I take my last breath. In other words, I'm just Johanna, a fellow human being on my journey through this thing called life, and your concierge on this transformative journey.